Our thriving real estate agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, November 3rd, I believe, 2022. And this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 402. Thank you to our opening entertainment to Alyssa. Bruce, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh my gosh. I think we're turning it over to Alyssa, right? Or you want me to go, Alyssa?
I can go ahead and do it today.
All right, go ahead.
I'm going to just give a quick, brief intro on how you can ask questions on our podcast. We want to hear from you. Questions. We want to hear your wins, your successes. If you have any ideas, what to do, what not to do, anything relating to prospecting and real estate leads of just about any kind, specifically transitional real estate leads. You can click the reactions button down here if you are joining us on Zoom and click raise your hand and we'll call on you live. If you're tuning in on any one of our streaming services, Facebook or YouTube, you can post your comments, your questions right in the comments, and we have moderators standing by to pose your questions to our coaches and they will answer them live. If you are tuning in on a streaming service and you want to go ahead and join us on Zoom, just go to alltheleads.com/live.
Great job, Alyssa. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I will kind of kick this off by encouraging all of you, re-encouraging you to do what Alyssa just said. Raise your hand, ask your questions, share your wins, your successes, your stories. We want to hear those. Yesterday was a great day. We wrapped up a Probate Foundations class. We teach it once a month. If you haven't been, I encourage you guys to join. We also had a clubhouse call last evening. And yesterday was, I think November is Silent November because nobody was really popping their hands up. Hopefully we can correct that trend today and get some questions, comments, and stories shared. Because this call is for you. Anyone that does not know what All the Leads is about, maybe it's your first time here. We do provide transitions-based leads, probate, pre-probate, divorce. Some other lead sources will be available in the future. But those are three really good types of leads that we provide. We provide systems, marketing systems, websites, mail marketing, letter templates, pretty much anything you need to operate a little bit more of a listing-focused business built around life transitions. So that's what we do. If you are not a subscriber, if you're interested in hearing more, throw us a chat in, or you can go to alltheleads.com and call the phone number at the top of the page. And Alyssa will post that in for you guys. Oh, there you go. Okay. So scan the QR code that's on your screen, and it'll give you a chance to check your county. You can also call the phone number that's on our webpage as well. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to my fellow coaches to see what they're working on, what is happening in business, and hopefully get some questions kicked off.
Thanks, Bruce. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chuck Sierk, working together with Bruce as a coach here, help get people kicked off on the right foot, handle a lot of the orientation, and definitely the monthly strategy calls. So that way we can help you unstick the stuck as you're getting your business built up and sometimes obstacles pop up along the way. And that's a lot of what we teach here at All the Leads, is to present yourself as a solution for your potential clients and the prospects that you're talking to help them overcome those obstacles that they're facing as they're going through. We talk a lot about probate here on the ATL Mastermind. That's one of the main sources of leads that we provide. But I'm also doing this business here in the Mid-Atlantic region of the country. And a lot of the conversations that I'm having when I'm networking, I think on Probate Foundations, Bruce, you talk about building a team of referral resources that can help people Settle estates easier than doing it alone. And we don't want to necessarily be climbing through grandma's attic and helping people unloading this stuff. We're focused on being the real estate specialist, but we're also connecting a lot of folks to help these people be able to get from where they are to where they want to be. And in my own business, when I'm talking with a lot of different advertisers and networking with different businesses to get the word out about my particular business, a lot of people focus on, they say, wow, I've never heard of somebody putting all of this under one umbrella and delivering this type of concierge level service. So whether you're an investor or you're a real estate agent, please be aware that by stepping your foot forward and following the ATL system, you do set yourself apart. This is a unique selling proposition as you're out there working in the marketplace and helping those folks go through a difficult time. These are major life transitions that they're going to be facing. And, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is going to be just that, how you can promote yourself and handle those particular situations and have conversations with prospects to help you do more business in a very extremely needed way. It's one of the things I keep hearing over and over is it's a much needed service out there in the marketplace. So as we're getting close to the end of 2022 and we step into 2023, please know that the approach that we're taking, the response that we're getting from the market, the thank yous that we get at the end of these particular deals, it's really appreciated and it's needed out there in the marketplace. So stick with us. Let's get into the masterminding. And, I'm excited for today's call.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck. Jim, Tim, do you guys have anything to share? Let's see some hands, folks. Get their questions asked. Tim, if you're talking, I can't hear you.
You're muted. Your lips are moving and we can't hear you, Tim.
He's just mumbling to himself.
You think? While Tim's unmuting, I was just going to say, Alyssa, just when she posted our info up there, there was a little promotion on the bottom of the screen. I'm sure she'll put that up again. We want to reward you guys for showing up live, and we want to offer some little incentives to show up live for the call. So, Tim, I don't know if you want to talk about that one a little bit. It's pretty self-explanatory. But anybody on this call, if you call in and mention the code FALL30, if you're not a subscriber, we'll give you a big discount on your first 2 months. If you are a subscriber, we'll give you the same discount if you want to add another county. And we're not going to send an email out. We're not going to really publicize that. It's just for showing up on this call. As Bruce said, we want to encourage participation. We want to reward you guys for being here live. So I'm sure that'll come up again. I just noticed Alyssa had posted it, and I wanted to acknowledge it for now.
Yep.
Tim, can you hear me now?
Hey, we can
hear you. Yes, sir.
I don't know why it switched off to a different microphone source. All I was going to say is we're working right now to get our last minute details together for the NAR show next week. We are going to be there. We're looking forward to seeing lots of people among the 20,000 or so people that are likely to show up in Orlando for the biggest event of the year for realtors. And we'll be there with our booth, and we hope to see a lot of people. We've got some exciting new things that we're going to be dealing with there that we have been ramping up towards. So we're all excited to go there and enjoy it. And we look forward to meeting you there as well.
Awesome.
I think it's the biggest crew we've ever brought to an event. We haven't been to a convention since 2019. There will be 8 of us live working the booth, and a lot of our other people will alternate in and out. So even if there's a line, hopefully somebody will be there to greet you, shake your hand, answer your questions. We just like to put a name with a face a lot of times. So if you guys are there and you're able to show up, we'd love to meet you.
Perfect. Got a couple of questions that have come in so far. Scott has his hand up. Scott, I'll have you sit on the sideline for a quick second because Eduardo had chatted me a minute ago with what I think was a good question, but there is an acronym in there that I wasn't quite following. So Eduardo, you are unmuted. Go ahead and ask your question, and if I can't handle it, hopefully one of the other coaches can.
All right, thank you, Bruce. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, my question is, so I have I haven't been hired yet, but I met with the folks that are in the, in the situation where the mother passed and there are 3 daughters. The PR has been assigned, but the house has not been changed from the mother's name to the state of, right? And there's so access is like Arizona, medical care that's free, right, for people with that have problems covering it. So there's a lien on the house by the state agency, medical service that was provided to the deceased, right? So it's about 30 grand. And then there's also a lien by the city on a loan that was made many, many years ago. And that's 18,000. My question is, can those loans that are government related or these liens, medical liens that are government related, can those be negotiated? And, would I need like an authorization form or something in order to negotiate for them?
Well, first off, one of them can't be on the house. It has to be on the estate. The medical one, while it may be showing up as against the property, it's probably just the gross value of the estate itself. But you can't put a medical lien directly on the property, at least to my knowledge. Now, Arizona, anything's possible, but I think the medical one is probably against the estate. Who made the loan from the city? What's that one from?
So that was the loan that was made to the deceased, the owner of the house, for improvements into the house, and that was like at least 20 years ago.
But who made the loan?
I assume it was a program, a city program, City of Mesa. It was probably like a program at the moment back then.
No, he never paid off the loan, right?
No. So they actually, it was like 36 and it's been so long, they lowered it to half. I don't know if it's even negotiable further down. When we run a title search, it showed those 2 loans or, plus some property taxes that have not been paid. So not loans, but the loan and the medical bill and unpaid property taxes. That's what I see on the title.
Is there equity? Is there equity in the house?
There is, yes.
How much?
I want to say, well, there's no mortgage, and the house is about, $300,000 as is if they sell it cash.
And how much is the healthcare lien?
It's about 35, I think, something like that, and then about 18 on the loan from the city. And then the property tax is probably about $8 grand.
Yeah, so I mean, anything is possible in terms of negotiation. You need to get you or someone would need to deal with an attorney. Attorney can tell you whether or not the city will do that. If they know there's equity in the house, oftentimes you can get stuff done. Jim probably knows more about negotiating that stuff than I would, but I would certainly say that, the fact that there is there's no lien on or no mortgage on the house, and the city knows the assessed value of it. If those are city liens, they're going to want their money. And
I was just going to say, when you compare it to a short sale, I know on a short sale, most liens are negotiable, but it's something you said there that I'm not real sure about. You said it was 36 and they reduced it to 18. I'm not sure why they would have done that. Was it, if that was an incentive to get them to pay it off, then possibly I'm wrong. I know with short sales, sometimes they'll have like bond programs or they'll have loans that the cities will offer. They tend to not be very negotiable on those.
Okay.
Taxes are another thing. Taxes, I've seen my wife negotiate tax liens, even IRS liens. The IRS will remove liens. So it kind of depends on what type of a lien it is. And I would agree with Tim, if there's that much equity, they probably don't have any incentive. I mean, having said that, you never know. I mean, the government is not always real logical. If somebody reached out and said, depending on the type of loan, you've been owed this for 27 years. If I get it paid off for you next month, will you take less? It's certainly possible. And then your first question, or your second question, I think, yeah, all you should need to do that is the same thing you would need to do a short sale, just a permission to negotiate on their behalf, permission to release information, that type of thing. Get something signed from the seller that if you want to volunteer, hey, I'll contact them and try to work those things out. If they do they have an attorney for the probate already?
They do, but I was researching the attorney, and he's not even a probate attorney. It's like a general, like they haven't covered that many probate cases. They haven't put the notice in the newspaper. Is that something that the lawyer needs to do, or is that something that the PR needs to do?
Yes.
Yes, well, it's both their responsibility. A good attorney will do it. Out of respect to the attorney, if you're trying to be the good guy and jump in here and maybe earn the listing, it sounds like maybe that's what you're trying to do. I would probably reach out to the attorney, let them know there are these liens. Just say, I may not stand a ghost of a chance, but what do you think? Do you think it's worth us taking a crack at getting these reduced? And if he doesn't want to do it and you're willing to step up, I think your odds are pretty low, but maybe just the fact that you're willing to make the effort, might win you the listing on the seller's behalf.
All right. Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Eduardo, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Okay, let's run over to Scott. Scott, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I'm just saying a general statement to everybody that I had 6 months of leads, and I sent letters out every time I got the new list, and then my biggest failure was not following up with phone calls. And now I'm getting to them and everything, and I am shocked and upset and disappointed on how many homes have sold and how many leads were gold that I could have made $100,000. I'm not even joking. I'm looking at homes that sold for $1 million, homes that sold cash. I had a couple opportunities I didn't quite catch, but I just know that there's gold in them hills if you just call and follow up and do the process, because following up a little too late doesn't help you. You may get a client out of it for other business and whatever, but if you're diligent and consistent and early on the process and just continue, just in a few months, I've followed up on people that there's probably been 16 home sales from the month that they filed probate to like 3 months later, and the home is already sold. And you're like, hey, I could have been at least 2 of those agents, look, being conservative. Well, that's 20, 30 grand. If you look at the price point around Seattle area or where I'm at, the median home price in Snohomish County is like 600,000, they're not cheap. So I'm just saying there's gold in those leads.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Scott, I got to disagree with something you said. Knowing you, I think following up late with those leads will help you, because it's going to give you the incentive not to do that again.
Well, that's true. And there are still leads that haven't done anything. They're in probate. They're not selling, but those people are going into my newsletter database and they're going to hear from me. So I'm not giving up on the leads that I have, because some of them will pay off, but I'm just saying that the fruit that was hanging low was grabbed by somebody else. Now, some of these people may have already had an attorney and it was already set up before. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying of the amount of closings that there's been, and I've cross-referenced to the MLS and Realist and all that, and there's been some deals that I could have gotten had I been more aggressive and consistent. That's really the message, is what I'm getting.
I really meant that as a compliment. You'd be surprised how many people would not take the approach you did. They'd say, I sent out 6 months worth of letters, didn't get anything, this doesn't work, move on to something else. So you followed up long enough to realize what you missed. And that's changing your course of action in the future. What are you going to do differently from here on in?
Well, I just sent out a letter and I hired a VA to help me too, but I'm also making sure they're getting called right away with the right scripts to just say, hey, we're here. Because I already had the moving services group stuff set up before I ever started all the leads. I had that with my former brokerage. So I have all the things that I need to do. I'm helping somebody evict a squatter right now. They got a fifth wheel parked there, and they brought, other vehicles, and she originally let them stay there as a tenant, kind of, sort of. Now the guy's in jail. I mean, you run into some crazy stuff, believe me. I mean, I had one lady that she gave her son the power of attorney and let him be the PR, and now he's squatting in the house, siphoning money out of the estate. And that's the story I told you about, where I went to the attorney, got the information, and he was slamming himself basically. And then I told him who it was, and he about kicked me out of it. Well, he did kick me out of his office, but you guys remember that story. Yeah. What not to do.
Well, man, what not to do's are the greatest learning experience that you're going to have. So the sooner you can realize what you missed, the quicker you can make some adjustments to your strategy and your plan.
And one thing I'm going to do is, even the leads that I lost that sold, that have the attorney, I'm going to reach out to that attorney, and I'm going to try to build, because they already did a probate. Now I'm going to go in and say, hey, I've got a ton of these. I can bring you some more. Can we work together on how I can help you build more probate deals or whatever, and create that networking there? Because that was the first attorney I met with, and I blew it right out of the water.
Well, you also have the opportunity to look forward to those additional 5 to 10 referrals that can come after you help those people sell the house in probate. So you can amplify that long-term benefit to you by actually following the process consistently, because it can really grow and expand your business, even in the regular real estate transactions as well.
I've been kicking myself so much I have bruises.
Don't do that. Don't do that. All you got to do is plan for tomorrow and go after it.
Oh, they're getting called today. I sent the letter out Friday from the leads that I have, and they're going to get called too. So I'll let you know how start getting. Goes.
Well, I mean, we're here for you to start getting some fresh leads, so that way you don't make the mistake twice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do have one in pending, so I'll have a budget here at the end of the month. Another budget.
We'll welcome you back.
Thanks for letting me show up, even though I'm not paying for leads at the moment, but I did for 6 months.
We still love you, bud.
Thanks, Scott. All right, Sheila, go ahead and unmute yourself. This is always exciting because you always drop some gold.
Oh yeah, I have a very unusual call I want to share with you, and hopefully you can help me. I don't know. Okay, I'm in Florida, probate down here, and the lead, she lives up in New York. Her dad passed away in February. She didn't find out that he died until June. Which she came down here, and then his neighbor took him to the hospital, drained his bank accounts, let squatters move into his house. Her dad is a veteran, and she cannot obtain his ashes. My question is, I gave her the main number for Department of Veteran Affairs, but I don't think that's going to be of help. Do you know of anything specific that she would be able to do to obtain her father's ashes from the crematorium?
Why can't she obtain them?
They will not give them to her. I don't know the whole details of that, but I said, I'll try to find out who in the Department of Veterans Affairs would be able to help.
Probably that they I don't know. You need to find out if anybody paid for did the veterans pay to have the cremation done?
See, that I don't know either.
Because the only reason they wouldn't release the ashes, if she can prove that he's his daughter, they only not release anything if they're owed money, generally. Okay, that's generally the problem, is that there's money missing somewhere, and she may not have the money to do it, but typically they're not, I mean, they're not in the business of holding on to people's ashes. They don't they don't collect them. They're trying to move them out, and they don't have a repository for that. They want to get them done, and if they don't get them in some time frame, they probably have the legal right to simply dispose of them.
So there's a couple of things. I think number one, you're probably not getting the whole story. There are pieces of that story that are missing. Does she have the death certificate? Has she seen a copy? Who's named? Are there other heirs? There are
other heirs, but they're estranged from the dad. So she's named the executrix in his official will, which she has. The death certificate's been submitted. It is in probate right now. But she can't do anything until she gets that the eviction to go through to get the squatters out.
Is there an attorney?
Yes. Not very helpful.
Who hired the attorney? Did she do it, or the
court appointed?
You said she did?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say this in a really harsh way, but I don't mean this to you, and thank you for bringing it up, but you shouldn't be having to ask us a question about how to get the ashes. The attorney ought to be taking care of that. He's not doing his job if that's the case.
Okay. So
I'm not saying don't ask us. Yeah, please don't take that as me saying don't ask us. It's great for you to do that, but my God, that's something that the attorney ought to be all over.
Well, yeah. I mean, my opening line is we handle things that your attorney won't, and that's what she brought that up. Well, my attorney's not helping me with this.
Well, beat on the attorney, because the attorney should be able to at least tell you why, or there is a reason for it or something. And Bruce is absolutely telling you the key element here. There's something missing from this story.
And either she hasn't thought to ask, or more likely she's just not giving you the details that she has in her back pocket because she doesn't want to. Because this is really simple. Anytime anyone here is dealing with a situation where you're trying to have a meeting, you're trying to get something done, you should never ask can I do this? Because it's really easy for someone to say no. You should always lead, and she needs to lead with the question, what do I need to get you to get the ashes? Not, can I get my father's ashes? What do you need from me to get my father's ashes? And I'm assuming that she's probably just asked, can I, and gotten stonewalled. And I'm going to draw a parallel to this. We're trying to get a hold of attorneys very frequently. And instead of going to the gatekeeper and saying, can I talk to the attorney? Yes, no. We say, what would it take to get 5 or 10 minutes with such and such attorney? Okay. And I sorry, I couldn't help but draw that comparison. She needs to ask what she needs to do to get them, because there is a key. Maybe she doesn't know what that key is because she hasn't asked the correct question. And if you want to help, you call the crematorium and you ask that question. Look, this isn't me. This is for a client of mine. What does she need to provide to get a copy of her father, or get her father's ashes?
Right.
It might also be, Bruce, that the estrangement with the other relatives is causing the crematorium to want to get ordered to release the ashes to one of the heirs rather than handing them, even if she is the executrix of the estate. That doesn't settle the affairs and the assets. And just because she is that won't get them if there are other people who similarly have a claim on her father's ashes. And so if they may be waiting for literally probate to close and have that be determined at probate. And typically, if that's the case, they'll order the ashes to be split up. I mean, there are a bunch of things around that, but I mean, that might be a reason. It may not be money. It could be that the crematorium is waiting for determination.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. It's good information.
Thanks, Sheila. All right.
Great question.
Absolutely. Amazing question. You never know that some of the stories, I encourage everyone here to start a story journal. If any of you journal, that'll be really easy. If you've never journaled before in your life, like me, it's still easy because we run into some doozies here, and it's really easy to build relationships and sell when you have stories that you can share with people. There's a book, I think it's a book called Selling with Stories. And it's absolutely one of the best ways to establish credibility and promote and sell yourself is by talking about stories. And if you don't have any stories yet, use some of the stories that you hear on this call, because you will hear some amazing stories. And I haven't been writing your all stories down. I need to start doing it again. But I carry a story journal with me pretty much everywhere I go, and any memorable experience that happens to me, I write it down and I try to jot down what it applies to, what it could apply to. Does it apply to prospecting? Could it apply to probate? And I'll just make a bullet point list of a handful of things that could apply to, and I'll pull it out next time I'm in that presentation or class or conversation. So great story. And we get these all the time.
And I highly recommend, I mean, if you're just getting started out and you need some practice in order to build your confidence up to start reaching out to cold prospects and the personal representatives, call your sphere of influence, call the folks that already know, like, and trust you, and start asking those folks who might be, in the age category that could have had the opportunity to have been a personal representative themselves. Ask them, say, hey, this is what I'm doing now. This is what my focus is here going into 2023. Have you ever had the opportunity or, to be the personal representative for after a loved one passed? And if they have, ask them what struggles they had, get some of their stories. So not only are you reaching out to your sphere, reminding them that you're in real estate, but you also have that opportunity to gain experience through others. And just what Bruce was talking about, that will make you that much more comfortable on the phone when you're talking with prospects, and it'll give you examples that you can relate to them and further that conversation in a great way.
By the way, Sheila, John Cooper brought this up. Are you confident that she is the personal representative? She's not just telling you you've seen the letters testamentary?
Yeah, I pulled up the court records.
Okay. Got it. All right. Piece of the story that is missing between her and what she's given you. Just dig into that a little bit more and encourage her, or you ask, what will it take? See if you can get more story from the crematorium.
Okay.
Just one other quick question while we got you back for a second. Again, what size is the estate in your opinion?
The house is worth about $250-ish.
No liens?
No, and I believe it's paid off.
Okay. So, I mean, there's money to be distributed, and that would take care of a lot of the stuff that's there. And are the other relatives that are estranged, is it brother and sister? Is it sibling or others?
They're siblings. They haven't spoken to their father since they were teenagers.
Are they estranged from each other, or are they all getting along well?
I didn't really get into that. It was already a 40-minute conversation with this woman. She just poured her heart out to me, and I'm like, So I didn't really ask a lot of questions, which I should have, but I just let her, just kind of vent.
Have you met with her in person?
No, she lives upstate New York.
Oh, she's out. I got it.
Guys, Sheila just dropped another nugget that I want everyone to pay attention to. Is you called, I'm assuming this was your first conversation, Sheila?
Yes.
And she poured her heart out to you. What are you guys worried about? Why are you worried about someone yelling at you? You're going to have people that pour their heart out to you and beg for help. Mm-hmm. So if you're afraid to get on the phones, listen to some of these stories, because they're not all aggressive, can't believe you're calling me, you stupid ambulance chaser people. They are folks that need and crave assistance, especially when they're in a situation like this. So
that's a true statement. And the only thing I was going to also point out about this is, are you, is it your intent, or have you already, Sheila, tried to, have you proposed a relationship with her to help her solve these problems? Sorry, you need to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Sorry. I told her that I would do some research and send her an email with what I found and follow up with her by the end of this week. So I did send the email out to her with the Department of Veterans Affairs information, as well as telling her what she needs to do in order to get the squatters out, as she has to file that, not the eviction, I can't remember the name of it. She has to have a lawyer file a legal process to get squatters to go. I can't remember the name of it, but that's what she has got to do. And I'm going to either give her a call today or tomorrow and find out if she got the information. And then I'm going to go into what you had suggested, Bruce, is, just what do you need to do to get your dad's ashes? You got to ask that question.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The only until you get something from her, or have something that you have some standing in this, the only thing that you're liable to run into, or could run into, is that you may not be the only person in touch with her, and someone else may come along that offers her, I can take care of all that for you, and I've done this 1,000 times, and I know how to get people out, and I'll get your dad's ashes. Sign this agreement. So you need to stay in really close touch with her, so that somebody who's unscrupulous doesn't come in and make her a bunch of false promises, and her not being present there, they might listen to them because it sounds easier to deal with. So I would urge you to be in frequent conversation with her if you expect to get this, because I can promise you won't be the only person, potentially not be the only person who's knocking on her door.
Okay.
So don't let a day go by that you don't report in. This sounds like a great opportunity, and you just need to continue to be in touch. And I would, recommend you get something if you can. Don't obviously have to play it by ear, but you can be very frank and honest with her that here's all the things that I'm doing for you, and I want to be sure that we have a relationship that I can help you with. But I do run a business, and I want to help you, and here's what I'm willing to do for what I'm asking you for. And if you don't get that conversation out of the way, it'll be harder to have it the longer you go.
Right.
Yep.
Now, she's already told me that I'm the only person who actually listened to her and was empathetic. And I was like, oh, but that's just what she said.
Unfortunately,
so I will follow up with her at least weekly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can tell you that everybody who's on the screen that you're looking at right now has had a person tell them something similar to that, like, I love you and I appreciate all your help. And, a week later they call back and it's like, well, my next door neighbor's, dog catcher's girlfriend is a realtor in that market, and she's helping me now. Right. And I'm trying to help you not let that happen to you. You're doing a great job. You're asking all the right questions. Just make sure that you stay in frequent touch, because it sounds like she's very, very vulnerable, doesn't know what to do. And somebody in those circumstances is likely to be susceptible to outside influences.
Right.
Yep. So step up your being in touch, and do it more frequently than weekly, and be on the phone with her if you can.
Okay.
Perfect. Right. And we had a subscriber that asked a question a minute ago that I think bears an answer for everyone listening. And I don't know if I'm supposed to name the name, so I will not. You know who you are. It's a great question. A subscriber said, what happens, or what do you do if you find out that there are a couple of other subscribers that are getting leads in your area? All right. And I've heard this question many times. And again, it's a great question. And to the person that asked the question, I'm going to say, in your area, there are not other subscribers. I'm also going to say that in my area, as an agent and as an investor, I know for a fact that I am competing with several other people for a large number of leads in my market. I know that for a fact. And I want them to succeed as long as I also succeed. All right. In the majority of areas around the country, at least all the leads, we limit the number of subscribers that can go into a market. So we will put a cap if we feel like we're creating undue competition for those that are getting our leads. With that said, you guys should just expect that there are other people that are going after probate leads, and it's okay. If you're in a market with, let's call it 100 probate leads a month, and I know not everyone is. Some of you get more, some of you get less. You can generally plan on between 40 and 60 of those having a short-term need to sell. Can you list 40 to 60 houses a month? Probably not, unless you have just a killer team. So the 40 to 60 that list in my market every month, if I get 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, I am over the moon thrilled. And I'm also over the moon thrilled if I can help the competitors that are in my market also do the same thing. So I really wouldn't pay too much attention to the competition that you have. You want to know who they are so that you know what their unique selling proposition is, what they're offering, how they're marketing, how they're prospecting, and do something maybe a little bit different. But beyond that, there's a lot of real estate that needs to be sold, and a lot of families that need help going through probate. It would kind of be like an attorney saying, "Hey, I'm not the only probate attorney. I'm not going to go after this source of business." There are a lot of people that serve this niche, and they all do really well, regardless of what their competition does. And in the agent and investor space, you need to recognize another thing: most of your competitors will not pick the phone up. So if you're making calls, most of your competitors are going to send, if they send mail out, they're going to send one letter, maybe two, and they're going to quit far before most families are ever selling a house. So if you're following our system, you will be one of the few people, regardless of competition, you'll be one of the few people that follow through with the plan. And that's going to help get a lot of business that anyone that's competing with you won't get.
Also important to know that we are very careful in regard to what we do, that we make sure that we give everybody certainly an equal opportunity to be successful, but more importantly, we don't oversell. We are not a company, we established this in the very beginning as our value proposition. If you're not being successful, you're not going to stick around. And so our goal is retention. Our goal is to make sure that you are successful so that you continue to use our services, that you continue to use us for your mail. We continue to do everything we can to keep the cost of everything we do controllable for you as well. But most importantly, we don't oversell in any particular marketplace. In most marketplaces, in a lot of counties we have 1. In some we have 2, and our average is less than 3. In some cases, in some major marketplaces where we need better opportunity, for example, Los Angeles. In the beginning, we had the entire city of Los Angeles, multiple millions of people, all in one basket. So we went in and we broke it up. We did the same thing for Cook County. We've done it for, that's Chicago, and we've done the same thing for some other counties. And as we develop more opportunity, we segment the marketplace. So we make sure that we give you a good competitive advantage. Having said that, Bruce is making a good point. There are people who go out after this and approach it in multiple different ways. There are people who look for $0 transfers, and they'll just blast something out to that. That's an interesting kind of competitor. Investors are typically looking for And, you know, a lot of the folks that are on here are investors, and they're looking for low-hanging fruit, just like came up on the earlier call, you know, when Scott was talking. Investors are going to jump on low-hanging fruit, and then they're out of the game. They go away. And, you know, they don't necessarily stick around all that long because they're trying to move through, and they spend their marketing dollars and everything else trying to get to them quickly and getting the ones that need to sell fastest. So we do everything we can to give you a good competitive opportunity to do this. And we continue to add services and third-party relationships and things like giving you the cash advance program that's easy to use and helps you provide cash for people and all the other things that we do. So, you know, yep, there's going to be competition. Competition is always good for the marketplace. You just need to move bigger, better, faster, get it done. And we always make sure that if you're using us for mail, like we encourage you to do, that you're never sending out the same kinds of letters, look, feel, content, font. Any of the things that you send out are going to be different than your competition is. So you stand out and look different from them. And we encourage you to work with us and work with your marketing implementation specialist to make sure that happens.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Thank you to the original person that asked. I didn't want to call you out for that question. And if you wouldn't have minded, I just wanted to be safe on that. Nancy Brooke, more questions, by the way. We have 10 more minutes before we wrap up. So if there's anyone else with any questions, we have room for another question or two. Nancy had asked who the author was of the Selling with Stories. And I get these kind of story selling techniques and authors mixed up sometimes. So I was actually thinking about Story Brand. And I'll tell you who Selling with a Story is. Selling with a Story is Paul Smith. Good book, very good book. And then there's another story-based coaching program and technique called Story Brand, and that is somebody might beat me to it. Story Brand. Maybe that's not the name. I will find it out, and I'll throw a mention in here in a few minutes if I can find it. But Paul Smith is the author of, Donald Miller. There you go, Donald Miller. Thank you, Alyssa. It's in chat. All right, guys. Any other questions? Stories?
Hey, Bruce, I saw somebody, when we were talking about the convention, somebody wanted to know when and where that was. What we were referring to was the National Association of Realtors Convention. It's in Orlando, November 13th, 14th, and 15th, I believe. It's, is that correct? Yeah, I think it is. November 13th through the 15th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
11th through the 13th, bud.
11th through the 13th, like I said. Yes, thank you. Thanks, Tim. And that is in Orlando. We'll have 2 booths there. We'll be in the expo area. So even if you don't go to the convention, you can still stop by the expo. You can get a ticket for that. It's very inexpensive if you just want to check it out. There's hundreds of exhibitors. It's really good to stay, if you're anywhere near the area, even if you're not going to the convention, just the technology, the services, it's all real estate related. And there's hundreds of booths there, and we will be a couple of them. So we'd like to see you there.
Well, and I think I would also just add that we're in an interesting time in our industry. And I think it's good to get a great feeling about all of the excitement and exciting things that are going on in our industry. And a lot of the, I remember 60 days ago, there's doom and gloom coming and the Fed's raising rates and, people are running for the hills and all that. And yes, the market's changing. The people that are on this call and the people that are aggressively pursuing their business, be aware that, this is a unique niche, and the things that we work in, they're not, I won't say that they're inflation proof because it does have bearing on it. But the reality is that when a property goes into probate, property's going to sell, and there's a fuse on that gets lit, unfortunately, at the time of death. And a certain number of those properties will absolutely sell in a fixed amount of time. And it doesn't matter what the market is doing because they have to get sold. So it's one of the reasons that we started in this particular niche. We know that it has a definitive timeline. Sometimes it's longer than we'd like. And I'm not saying that it won't extend to some extent based on changes in the marketplace, but we certainly have seen people coming up with great opportunities recently that were surprising. And, we're getting lots of, like Bruce said, a lot of great stories that are coming out right now. It had been quiet for a bit. Now it's kind of picked back up again. So it's a resilient marketplace, and NAR is a great place to see all that on display and talk to your fellows in the business that you get to know and establish cool relationships. And more importantly, you'll get to see Jim Sullivan. And
Very
how exciting is that?
For those that I was just thinking back 12 or 13 years ago, I was with our short sale company. We were at a booth at NAR. There was a booth across from us, and I just kept seeing lines of people, and they were disappointed. Your county sold out. Your county sold out. And it's really what gave me the idea. I went and Googled them. I don't even remember the name of the company now, to be honest. I think I do, but I won't mention it. But I Googled them, and there was all kinds of complaints about they're just expensive internet leads. They're just buyer leads. And I thought, boy, if there's a way to find unique seller leads, it would be a really unique opportunity for business. It would be great for realtors. And that's kind of where this came from. If I hadn't attended that NAR convention, we may all be somewhere else right now. So you never know. You never know what one thing is going to trigger an idea that's going to take you in a whole new direction. And there's hundreds of opportunities to have those kind of experiences there. So if you're not going, we don't, it's a little late to book your ticket, but if you're going to be there, the point is make sure you stop by and see us.
For sure. Listen, do you want to, before we get off, pop the promotional thing back up there on the screen for a second?
Before you do that, Alyssa, great question from Eric. Asked if every probate had to sell. And the answer to that is no. In general, and every state has some slightly different processes, but in general, you have to go through probate. Number one, if you don't have a living trust, and if your assets that are not transferable on death. Okay, so if you have joint tenancy with right of survivorship, the house would transfer on death. So if the assets in the estate that are not transferable on death are over $50,000 worth of net assets, then you have to go through probate. There's nothing that says that you have to sell real estate or any personal belongings. It's just that normally people would have to sell because they have debts that need to be paid off, and they have to sell assets in order to have the cash to pay those debts off, or if they don't need real estate. And in my estimation, and this is estimation only, it's kind of comes from looking at a lot of different markets over the past several years. It's normally somewhere between 40 and 60% of any probate case that will end up selling real estate in the near future. And near future could be next week. It could be 18 months from now. But those are kind of what I've seen typically happen with probates. 40 to 60% will sell in the relative near future. So go after them. Don't be like Scott and find out that you missed 15 or 20% 6 months later.
just to add to that, a very obvious reason why it needs to be sold. If there's one heir and the property's in Florida and the heir lives in New York, they don't want to live there, they don't want to rent it. But probably the most common reason I saw is there's multiple heirs. There's 2 or 3 kids, and you can't divide a house up 2 or 3 ways. So it has to be liquidated to dispose of the value among the heirs. So that's probably the most common reason why they're sold, in my opinion.
Right, and the other thing it's a sad thing that happens, but if it is an older person who's passed away and the husband and wife, and all of a sudden, one or the other of them passes away, all of a sudden, whoever is surviving that either may not want to live there, they may need to move into, it was their caregiver, and they may need to move into assisted living. So there's all kinds of factors that are at play in a probate that aren't in other circumstances, and not the least of which is that if it's the breadwinner who's passed and their insurance was not in great shape, and all of a sudden the money that was keeping the family going is no longer there, the only real asset the family has to move forward with their lives is that property. So that's the thing that makes probate unfortunately, or fortunately for us, but unfortunately for families, something that forces that to happen. And that's what we talk about. There are numerous fuses that get lit. So that's kind of the reason for it. No, they don't all have to be, but more than in most circumstances of transition, it is definitely the case that more frequently a house will, in fact, get sold out of probate if there's an asset there. Okay.
Perfect. Alyssa, are you there? You want to pop up that special offer?
It's coming up.
Everybody? Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
There you go.
Go ahead, Tim. You want to highlight it, please?
Yeah. So all I was just going to say is that literally we're just trying this today. We want to reward those of you who are on today and let you know that you can, in fact, get 30% off your first couple of months in this program. Just mention fall 30 when you talk to your sales rep. Fill out, check your county. You got 2 days to do it. We're going to see if this is something that works and see if there are things that we can work with on this call. We want to try and make sure that we reward you for showing up. And so one of the things we're doing are trying these. So you can get 30% off. Mention fall 30 to your sales rep when you call. If you already are a subscriber, it's a great way to try a new county in an adjoining county. If you're a current subscriber and you want to add some marketing, we'll be happy to work with you on seeing if we can help you make that be a little bit affordable. Not going to get into dollars and cents on that. This is specific to the leads, but we are anxious to help you make your business successful. So that's what we're doing this for. We're just remember that it's fall 30 and let us know what we can do for you. We'll help you. Jimmy, it's time, buddy.
All right. Well, again, I want to end this call the way I always do. I want to thank each and every. Oh, by the way, we have a question from Emily, and she's only 3 days old. That's my new granddaughter. Thank you, Alyssa. She wants to know if that's a good marketing picture, and I think it is. Thanks for popping that up there, Alyssa. I want to thank each and every one of you, including Emily, for being here today. I want to challenge you to take one thought, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back on Wednesday night for our Clubhouse call, and next Thursday, same time, same place, and share your results with the group. Thanks, guys, for being here. Have a great week. Talk to you same time next week. Take care.